Apparently, one of the most requested features of Expand World is the ability to place locations. And what I mean by locations, this is a location that spawned into the world by the game. This little building that is left abandoned is a location. This buried ship, stone formation, is a location. This runestone in the Black Forest, that's a location. This troll cave, another location. I think you get my point. So in saying all of that, you can put in your own locations. There are a lot of mods that add locations into the game for like the Deep North, Ashlands, and obviously the Mistlands before the content got dropped. So previously you had to know how to mod, know how to use Unity, you know, export a DLL as a location, and it was a whole process. Rewarding, I'm sure, because a lot of people have learned how to mod recently and they're doing some really great stuff, but it's a lot of work. And with the Expand World mod, Infinity Hammer, World Edit, Vieri Kusla has given us the ability to make our own locations on the fly with some really easy commands. Let me show you how to do it. So if you've used Plan Build, you know that you can set blueprints. You can build a build, you know, build a home, build whatever, castle, select it all using the mod, and then save that as, and copy and paste it anywhere in the world, right? So we can do that now with any build and make it a location that spawns wherever we want in the world for however conditions we want. And now we can add icons, just like the boss stones, to denote where those places are once we place them. So let me walk you through that process. First thing you need to do is make sure that you can find your blueprint folder. The default location is actually in your Steam Valheim folder, in a subfolder of BepInEx, which has a subfolder just like your other BepInEx folder. C drive, program files, x86, Steam, Steam apps, common, Valheim, BepInEx, config, plan build, blueprints. Here are my blueprints. I have a lot of them. We pull up our locations, YAML, that's back in your config folder, BepInEx, config, expand world. Now this is in your regular mod folder that has all your regular mods in it. This is not, this is in your, you know, this is where you would go to Thunderstore or R2 Modman and go to settings, browse profile folder, and it would pop up and you would go to, you know, you would leave you here, config, expand world. Here's your location. Now I'm still using Visual Studio. I suggest you get that, Notepad++, any of those. So I'm gonna pull up my expand locations. Now here I've taken an entry and I've copied it. So I'm at the very bottom here, but I can just take any entry, right? Prefab, all the way down to the next one, copy it and paste it, which is what I've done down here. If I want to use a blueprint that I have, right? You can use your plan build mod to check out the blueprints. There's this cool home right here, right? So that's what I want to put in my prefab line right here. That's the blueprint name. So I can type it out or I can copy it from my blueprint folder. Starts with a K. So let's see, there it is. If I just copy that, put that in prefab, right? Actually, that's a vBuild. I'm wondering if this will work. We'll see. The quantity for the testing, I'm just gonna put 200. Icon place, now this is a new function that's been added. You can place an icon just like when you find a boss stone and it shows the boss location, or the trader pops up and it stays there. You can do that with these too. So the command to find the icon list is EW_icons. This is going to print the icon location. Here are your options. You could do whatever. Let's do boss just to do that. So we'll do icon placed is just boss, BOSS, and rotation, clear area. Now, if we want no build, if we don't want any of our players to build, just like the trader or the starting temple, we can do that. That's an option to, you know, to turn on and off. We can clear the area within a radius. That's the exterior radius here. I've got it set to 20. You can level the area. Let's do 15 instead of 10. And we can move the center, move the shift location. So let's try this. I'm not sure if this is going to work because it's a vBuild, not a blueprint. But let's see if it works. So we're going to do Control S, save. It's So it hasn't found the prefab because it's not a blueprint. So let's see. I'll take this little shack right here, the doctor's office, right? The doctor is in. Okay. Now, if I want this to spawn in the world, I need the blueprint name, which is doctor's office. Now, if we go to blueprints, it's going to be with the prefix of whatever character name you saved it as. So my character was Odin2 at the time. Doctor's office spaces are always underscores. Copy. We're going to paste that in the entry here. Save it. Check. It's reloaded. It says reloading, no errors. Would like to not have two of these here. Guess I can't undo that. That's okay. We'll just delete all of it. So we've got our entry in. Now where is our location? It's not spawned in yet, right? Because if we just put it in the YAML file, that's YAML file. It needs to be added in the game itself manually through us. So we put in the entries. We need to find the command for this is locations underscore add, right? And it's autocomplete, same as everything else. So we know that it started with Odin2. Odin, let's see, you can just copy and paste. Now it might not come up because it hasn't been added as a location officially. If I reloaded the game, it would do it. But once I do this, it will establish, the game will remember that it's a location. So locations add, the name, the biome, which is the meadows, right? Yeah, meadows. And then start, which upgrade worlds commands require start or stop to activate them. So I push start, it's gonna freeze, I'm gonna wait. It's going to add the locations. It says it's placing them. And there should be some around. Yeah, so if we look at our map now, we've got multiple locations here. So let's just go fly to one because they're close enough to be discovered. Okay, and here it is. Right, it's at the center of our circle. Don't know why that is so big, but we've leveled the ground, right? And yeah, now we've got our custom location. Now, what if you want a spawner at this location also, right? So I want this, but I want a spawner every time because I want enemies. Now, regular spawners are invisible and are not collidable. Collision's off, so they can't be added. And also, anything that's not a piece can't be added with the plan build mod. Now, here's where we're going to use a couple different methods. So the hammer can also copy blueprints, copy pieces, and make them blueprints, just like plan build. That will save the data that we want. We can also just use a regular spawner, like the bone pile, or like the Draugr pile. So if I do hammer, bone pile, see it's already completed at the bottom. I just hit tab, bone pile spawner. Right now I can place a bone pile spawner anywhere around here and make that an addition to this build. So the other problem is when you add these spawners in, that's not a buildable piece, right? It doesn't have the piece component. So what we need to do is we need to add the component to that piece, to that prefab, to make the game think that it's a buildable piece, to make the mod think that it's a buildable piece. The way we do that is bring up your console, hammer underscore add, and it's going to be the second one. If you hit tab again, add piece components. Now it says piece component added to every prefab. So every prefab in the game now has the component of a piece. So now I can use my plan build mod and I can select this area, right? Let's connect. We're going to select all of these, right? So now it's 108 pieces, right? 108 pieces. Now it is 109 pieces because I selected that thing. The game thinks it's a piece, the buildable piece. Now I can add it in plan build. Now I can save this by going to the check mark, clicking save. I can save it as EW test. We've done this a million times already. So 1B, we'll do 1B. We'll save it. Now it'll save it with the prefix of my character name. Now, if we want to check to make sure that this is spawning, you know, this spawner spawns in the world, we're gonna basically rewind all the work we just did by using locations remove, right? And it was with Odin. What was it? It was Odin 2's doctor's office, right? Biomes equal meadows. Start. Now they've been removed. Now let's reset the meadows, which is zones reset. That basically pulls up the options to reset an area around you. I'm going to choose just the biome of meadows because that's the one we were just working with. And I do start. Now it's reset. Now all that stuff is gone. Okay. So basically we've erased all the work we just did. If we go to our file here, we just saved a new blueprint, right? That new blueprint is, where is it? Oh, right. 1B, right? Here it is. 1B. Okay, so that's what's the same blueprint as the doctor's office, except it has the spawner next to it. So we know we just saved it, right? Great. Put that in as the prefab name. Same settings. Nothing is different. We should get the same result if things are working correctly. So I do Control S to save. I check my console. It's reloaded the location data. There are no errors. So now I'm going to do locations add, and then A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so that's not the one I want, but I'll use some of it to 1B, right? Again, I've saved the data. It's not registering everything in the game, even though the blueprint is there. So even though it's not auto-completing, I know it's there. Again, if I were to log back out and log back in, it would be there. You don't need to do that to activate this. So locations add, we want to do it in, I think I can just do start, but I'm going to make sure that it's in the right biome. So biomes meadows, and then click, and then type in start. Game should freeze. It should start loading them. There it goes. Right next to me, just like it was before. And there is the spawner. Now, spawner's active. Let's just double check, right? Turn ghost off. Wait a second. Should be a skelly popping up right there. There it is. Now I know it's working. And this is a fully... I can't remember whether this is a destructible spawner because this is a location. Yeah, so I can destroy that spawner. This skeleton doesn't want to die. I don't know why. He's bugged. Okay. Anyway, so the locations are here again. We can travel to other locations just to verify that they are indeed there, that the spawner is there, that the area is cleared to our satisfaction, and that things are working. So I will wait here for the skelly to pop up. There is the skelly. There we go. Now we've added a custom location from a blueprint, and we've added in a spawner. Okay, one thing I wanted to add about doing locations with the plan build mod, or using the plan build mod to select things and then save them, is that because it doesn't save any of that custom data for spawners, with the spawner tweaks, like if we change, use the component, this is already a spawner. Plan build can copy this object and know that it's a spawner. But in Expand World, there is an option to swap objects, add objects using these commands. So in your YAML file here, you could add a line that says to basically copy, to take this bone pile and swap it for another type of spawner, or have it spawn something different. So let me give you an example. Here is the this is the examples page for locations. All the instructions are right here. So creating a variant, if you wanted to take an existing location from the game and swap it, if you know it has a spawner, you could do this. You could basically just take this use all the settings that it normally has, but instead include object swap, and then you would put the spawner, and then the spawner that you want to swap it with. So here we have the skeleton spawner that comes default with this location, and changing it to spawner ghost. It's down here. You can also do it with dungeons, crypts. So instead of a crypt, you could have Grey Dwarfs down there instead. So you can do this by default just by using this object swap command, and that goes in your YAML file here. So I could basically just take this entire entry and copy it and paste it, and then there would be another. I could use this location. I would basically just type in crypt : Grey Dwarf, and that would come up in locations add. If I was typing that in, that would come up as a variant, and then would add this as well. And instead of in that crypt, it would be the Grey Dwarf spawning, not the skeletons, because we swapped the data. So you can tweak the altar using the spawner tweaks mod, save the data, and doing that is just object copy. So if I go to here, hover over this, go to object copy, it's going to copy this data. It's basically a number string, and it saves it in the clipboard just like it would on your PC. Just like it would in Windows. So I can paste that data into an entry here and use it just like an entry here. So it's a data, instead of the deer god spawning, they have a wolf spawning, and they change that data with the tweak alter, and then they copied the data, and then they just input the data here, and that can just swap it out. So instead of you building another spawner to do what you want, you can use the spawners and the altars and the stuff that are in game and just make modifications and changes using these commands here. It's not too difficult once you do it a couple times. Again, this stuff reloads in real time once you know the commands, the location add commands, the reset biomes commands. Using all of that together, you can test this out pretty quickly. Normally, just another example here, the Stone Tower Ruins, right? To make a variant in, because this is Stone Tower Ruins 5, right? So we know that is, if I find the entry here for Stone Tower Ruins 5, and let's go back over here. There it is. Stone Tower Ruins 5 in the mountains. It's got all these entries here, and we know that we want the spawner. Right, so they're using the example from here where they modified this tower, and I'll show you what it looks like. So Stone Tower Ruins 5, right? Let's take a look at what that looks like. Hammer, location, Stone Tower Ruins 5. So here is that location, right? I'm gonna spawn this. There it is. It's got the pile. It's going to spawn skeletons. But in this instance, in this change, they've used the objects. They've changed it to a variant with the Draugr, and then they add it into the game with objects, new objects, a Draugr spawner pile at these locations away from center, and it swaps out the skeleton spawner for another, Draugr spawner. So lots of Draugr spawners, and then they've used the spawner tweaks to increase the maximum amount close by. So basically making it spawn a ton of Draugrs at this location, this new variant location that they can add, just like we did with the other ones. Add 5 of them, add 100 of them, add 1. And then here are the instructions for the blueprint. Now we've gone over this. The instructions are here. I suggest if you're going to try this, you review the instructions. Again, you can just copy and paste this stuff if you're unsure. Once you do it a couple times, it'll be a lot easier. Those are the extra commands that you're able to integrate with the locations options here. And again, there are a lot of options here for your location. And you can also go around and just pick locations and add them by hand with the hammer, just by putting in that command, hammer location space whatever location. And again, it has autocomplete. So you could just start typing something, S, and then it'll just go through anything that starts with S, and you can just pick which one you want. House. Bam. Let's put it on the map, right? You want Stonehenge. Great. There's a full Stonehenge. If I place this down, it will smooth the area. Boom. Done. You can do this manually if you want. But by putting it in the YAML file and having it generate in the world, you don't, you know, it'll do it randomly, but it'll do it for you. This also brings an element of surprise, I think, if you are also going to play on this server. Sometimes I've noticed when I build stuff for servers, it's like I don't need to play it, but this way it gives it an element of mystery because you don't know exactly where it's going to spawn. So at least there's a little bit more of an excitement there. I don't want skeletons. I don't like that bone pile spawner. I want my own spawner. Well, there's a way to do that too. And it's not using the plan build mod, it's going to be using the hammer to copy the same blueprint. So we're going to do the same exact thing we just did. We're going to use this blueprint as our base, and we're going to add in another object. So I've got the clutter mod, great mod. It's got all sorts of decorations. It has a pentagram. So I want, let's say I want a cool floor, right? Bam, 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 bam. And I want this cool pentagram. How do I move it up? There we go. This cool pentagram kind of floating around it. Ooh, cool, right? All right. Now here's where the spawner tweaks mod comes into play. We're gonna change one of these objects, it doesn't really matter which, but into a spawner of whatever we want, okay? So let's say we got the pentagram, right? We'll use the pentagram. We're just going to hover, make sure we're hovered over the pentagram. I can tell that by using the ESP mod, saying pentagram horizontal. That means I'm not hovering the stone floor. And I'm going to type in object underscore, or sorry, I'm going to type in tweak object, okay? Tweak object to what? Tweak object to a component. Again, autocomplete. I can just hit tab. Equals, here are my options. Alter, pickable, spawner, spawn point, runestone, or chest. I want a spawner. I want it to spawn something cool, right? So spawner. Done. Custom piece, pentagram, component set to spawner. Now it's a spawner. Okay. What do we do now? We change its parameters, and if we go to world edit commands, the documentation, spawner tweaks mod right here. 4 new commands for the objects. Tweak spawner. We want tweak spawner. Faction, radius. These are all very self-explanatory. Again, Yeri has done such a great job of explaining everything for you. I don't need to do that right now. So if we want to tweak this spawner, we do tweak spawner. Basically telling the game we want to tweak this spawner that we've just made. Spawn. Again, it's autocomplete underneath. We have the other options that include the word spawn, respawn, spawn condition, spawn effect, spawn health. We want it to just spawn what? It can be any prefab. We could have it spawn iron swords. We could have it spawn anything, right? We want enemies, right? So let's do Desquito. Mosquito. Right? And then we can do the weight. That means if you do multiple creatures, which one is more likely? We're only going to do one. Min level, that's the lowest level, unstarred, and then the highest level would be however many stars. Let's say 6 stars, or it actually starts at 0, so 5 stars. And then the health, you can make it whatever you want. You can give it 1,000,000 health, you can give it 1 health. Let's give it 10 health. Okay, now we've got it spawning that. How often will it respawn? Respawn. Seconds. This is in seconds. So it will respawn every 10 seconds until there is a max total of 4 around. And there's something else called the trigger distance. Trigger distance. That's how far away the player needs to be to activate the spawner. So we'll do 20. So it's like they're going to start spawning once you're, relatively close. So those are like the basic options. There are obviously more. you can add an effect, like a visual effect when it spawns. But for our purposes, we're just gonna do this because this is for part of the location thing. So now that we've changed that, it says up there, it's saying what it's done. You can check on the console, set prefab set to blank, respawn time seconds, max near, set to 4. Okay, there it goes. It's spawning, right? Oh, I think I have ghost off, right. So there we go. We know it's working now, right? We know it's working. So we want to make sure that we save this spawner. It won't do it in plan build because I've changed the data using spawner tweak. So we have to use the hammer. How do we do that? Hammer area. Now, I've selected this, right? Now I'm holding it. I can duplicate it. I could place another one if I wanted to. While I'm holding it, while it's still in my mouse, I am going to type in... I'm going to type in the command you need to save it, right? Save. Good test 1. Good test 1. So, if I go back to blueprints under G, good test 1 blueprint. Copy. Let's go back to our thing here. Good test 1. Meadows median. Icon 3. Now build. Let's just remove that. Enter clear area true. Okay, that all looks good. I've reloaded the data. Let's do locations. Add good test 1. Good test 1. Okay. Biomes equals meadows. Start. Now, hopefully this should work. Now we've got our unique locations. Let's go check it out. Make sure we have ghost off. Okay, and we're gonna approach. And we know it's a spawner because it has... There it is. Now we've got our spawner spawning in our custom creature with all of our custom settings for the spawner. We can create a blueprint of anything we want. We can save that, and we know how to add pieces that aren't buildable pieces into the blueprint for both for plan build and for the hammer. And now we know how to use the icons as well. So now we've got icons that we can also apply to our new locations. So that combined with everything, so this is just a fraction of the things that you can do, but one of the coolest because this is a small building, but you could, if you wanted to, put in like big villages. So I could potentially put this entire village down. Okay. And I could select all these pieces and put them in there. I could even put prefabs of NPCs in here right now, and they would still be selected, and they would all spawn in there. So spawners, NPCs, creatures, you can make these things appear throughout your world in whatever biome and under whatever conditions you want. Very flexible. So now you know how to do locations. Now you know how to do some tweaks to make your own spawners. One more thing, everyone. If you like the content, consider subscribing. I'm trying to grow the channel a little bit with some helpful content. There's going to be other mods I'm going to cover, not just this kind of mod. So stay tuned. Again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.